Hello everyone, Robert Farah here from Tea and Tara, and I am taking the opportunity to do a VR to Chanel Days and the hashtag end of year tarot tag, because I kind of wanted to do an end of year tarot video anyway, so many thanks to Chanel Days for that. Which deck did I love using most this year? Well, it's a bit tricky to answer that question, but I think I would say this one. This is the International Icon Tarot, and it's to do with the fact that I created this tarot background this year, and I just love the way the tarot goes. This tarot goes with this background. The concept of the tarot is that it's in the style of international icons, like the icon for the toilet, the icon for the airport, the icon for the bus. So everything's highly simplified. The people don't have features, they don't have hands. Some of it is fairly sort of non-sex specific. And it's in a very particular colour palette. It's a very good designer, Ator. And there's something really relaxing about these colours. Funnily enough, I found that clients for one-to-one in-person readings don't particularly trust this tarot, because I think it's because it's a bit too blank, you know. A lot of the sort of comforting details have been scrubbed out. Actually, that quite suits my brain. I suppose I'm a bit of a minimalist, and I like things to be simplified, and I like these blocks of colour. And anyway, it so happens that you know, these cards, they look really good against my current background. So the whole thing becomes a very sort of pleasant aesthetic experience, I think. And I hope you agree. Okay. So yeah, the International Icon Tarot by Ator. And I don't think it's exactly current. It's probably available on the second-hand market. A very nice, very well-made indie deck from probably, I don't know, 10 or 20 years ago. Now, my most recent addition to my collection is an oracle deck, and I'm not an oracle deck person. I don't particularly go for oracle decks. I've got one or two that were given to me by other people, and you know, I have to admit I don't use them. I have once or twice bought oracle decks and, you know, not used them. But I saw this online and it's just really great. It's by a guy called Mr. Canuel, and he's in the States. He says he comes from a long line of psychics. So he's had the support of his family. And what he's done is he has created a slightly Lenormand style, conceptually speaking, deck of just oracles. There are no people in this deck and very few animals. But, you know, we have the honeycomb, the newspaper, the hammer, the bed, the hat, the lectern, and he gives you, you know, an accompanying PDF with some meanings as he sees them, sort of little inspirational passages about each of these pictures. But clearly you can use this deck without that accompanying PDF. And what's great about this deck is that it's a pretty good pastiche of Pamela Colman Smith's style. It's not, you know, it's not exactly the same. The colours are different. It's a bit grayer than most RWS decks, but it is a good homage to Pamela. And so you can pair it with the RWS very, very nicely. And so, you know, I do use it. I mean, I'm not an oracle deck person, but I can use this one because it's a bit mysterious. I like the way it looks, and it works. So there's 4 more. There you go. And you get it via Make Playing Cards. The cardstock is okay. I mean, I'm not quite sure whether any of the cardstock at Make Playing Cards is terribly good, but the backs are nice, nicer than I expected actually. So yeah, I highly recommend that one. I'll put in some links. I'll put in some links, at least any links that are necessary, in the footnotes. Question 3: a deck that isn't my usual style, but I'm vibing with it. Well, okay, the Canuel Oracle, which I've just shown you. Favorite deck pairing? Well, I've recently been doing my monthly readings with the International Icon Tarot. And what I do is I always do a pairing for my monthly readings. I find this pairs up well with almost anything, but I have this great little mini major deck, and it's called the Estrella, and it's absolutely splendid. It's by Ash La Estrella. Look, there's Michael Jackson as Le Battleur. And you can see how nicely this pairs with my new background here. The colours are gorgeous. Look, there's Le Pendu and L'Amoureuse, the lady lover, the Devil card, Le Monde, La Papesse, Le Jugement, and so on. So clearly it's a no-brainer. This pairs very nicely, doesn't it? Let's see some more. And some more of these. I'm just enjoying the pretty colours, really. I suppose I'm superficial that way. So, what do we have next? Question number 5, Divination accessory, and here it is. It's my new background, ladies and gentlemen, in all its glory. So it's basically, it's just a board with bits of wrapping paper sellotaped onto it, but I have always enjoyed the homemade, aesthetic. It is an aesthetic, isn't it? It's a bit Starbucksy, I suppose, but I always like that. In German they call it gebastelt, and basteln is a great German word, and it means sort of handicrafts and do it yourself. And this gives me a little bit of texture. It gives me 3 bright colours that I really like, and in my monthly readings it gives me a reliable background, which I know will make everyone feel relaxed. Okay, great card back. Here we have the Burning Tiger Tarot by Giulio Secondo, a friend of mine in Berlin. And let me just show you the backs, and then later I will show you the deck itself. Burning Tiger Tarot. Isn't that great? As in tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night. So tigers, 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 and roses. It's a collage tarot, and I'm going to be showing you the other side of those later. It's just gorgeous, isn't it? Okay, decks with a theme you like. I'm not a great one for themed tarots, but I did have this desire to have a nice light tarot in my collection. So eventually I went online, went to eBay and got myself a copy of the Gummy Bears tarot. The Gummy Bears. And this is really silly and really sketchy, and it's a bit mad. These are little, I suppose Gummy Bears are kind of sweetie, aren't they? And you chew them. So each of these characters in the RWS has become a little, kind of like a gummy bear, a jelly baby thing. And they don't have hands or feet. And they're a bit androgynous. except when they're not androgynous. In other words, the men are kind of sexless, but when there's a woman, they have a bosom, which some female friends have pointed out to me online that this is a bit creepy. It's a bit silly, isn't it? Look, that one was one of Pamela's female figures, but she's become androgynous. Let's show you what I mean. And the fools become androgynous and sexless, but a rather disastrous world card there. A rather disastrous gummy bear kind of female nude. I see what women mean. It is a bit much. I mean, I suppose as a guy, you can kind of take it or leave it. But I just felt I really needed a light tarot, and I don't particularly want cats or puppies, but sometimes, especially with pairings, this deck is, really exactly right. Look, 3 female gummy bears. I didn't get a box with this. It just came in a bag. But I think this is probably, again, old and out of print. And I mean, I don't think it's a rarity. I think you just go to eBay and you get one for 20 quid or something like that. Next question, most beautiful deck this year. And I'm going to say Burning Tiger Tarot. Now, I can't quite remember what the official release date of this tarot was. I mean, I'm not terribly up to date. This is not a video about, the latest decks this year. I kind of am someone who just rootles around to find the best decks, whether they're hot off the press or not. There we are, a bit of blue. Now, Giulio Secondo, the maker of this tarot, was our roommate for 3 or 4 years, and a very good roommate too. So there was a while when we had 2 tarot readers living in the same flat. And over that time, he was working on his magnum opus, the Burning Tarot Tiger, a soul collage deck, it says. And Giulio, I mean, his real name in real life is Jacopo, so I have to call him that. Jacopo is an artist himself, and his sideline is that he's a collage artist. And his, you could say, other career is that he's a tarotist. He's quite successful, actually, Jacopo, as a tarot reader. He's been on Netflix. And so it was kind of inevitable that he would make a collage tarot, and this took him. Me and my partner, we watched him do this over the months and years, and clearly it was a huge project. And it's not, this is not a print to order tarot that you buy from someone like Make Playing Cards. It is a tarot that's printed by a printer. I think he probably did a run of a few hundred, and he's got them, and if you want one, he sends them out. So these are collages from classical art with some contemporary, magazine cuttings and advertisements and things like that. There is an interview with Jacopo on my channel. And in that interview, I think I give a complete flip through of the deck. So I'm not going to give you a complete flip through today, because that would take too long. But I will tell you, I'll just keep flipping through and tell you a funny story. Jacopo's from Rome, and he still has quite a lot of a social life in Rome. And one day he said to me and my partner, I've got to go to Rome because I'm on TV. I'm in a Netflix show, and Italian Netflix had done this amazing show about this woman whose name I've forgotten, who was she became famous because she married a top football player. So it's a bit like Posh and Bex. And then I think they got divorced, and she's now famous for being famous. And Netflix made a show about her life. And at one stage, she gets the tarot reader to come round and read her tarot. And it was Jacopo, and it was great. He was on TV. So yeah, a most beautiful deck this year, definitely the Burning Tiger Tarot. I mean, I'm not being partial. I do know the creator, but I think that's a hot recommendation if you want to have a tarot that no one else has and that is really stunning. Well, which deck do I wish existed but doesn't exist? I wish there was a great hybrid tarot. I bought 2-3 hybrid tarots over the last 2-3 years, and I recently made a video about it. I don't think there is a good hybrid tarot. I mean hybrid between RWS and Marseille. I'm afraid I've stopped looking. The nearest I got to the perfect hybrid tarot was a thing called Deck of the Bastard, but frankly that's not terribly well produced. It's a bit out of focus, and I don't like a lot of the choices that the designer made, so we won't go into that because this is about a deck that doesn't exist. I will keep looking, but I think one day I might have to make it myself. Okay, which card sums up this year as a whole? And I am going to take a card from Radomil Boguslawski's marvellous Oculi Occultati deck. These are giant cards. I mean, I have quite big hands and these are big. And it's just an extremely poetic and extraordinarily pretty deck. And I'm not going to show you any of the nudes because I don't want to have restricted advertising. And there are lots and lots of nudes in this deck. But you can see why I like it. I mean, why wouldn't anyone like it? I think, in some ways, I think it's the most beautiful tarot I know. But what I wanted to say is, the card that best summons up the year, and I wanted to give you a Four of Swords. So, best summing up of the year that we've had. I worked very hard, and I kind of worked myself into a collapse, and it was really quite dramatic. I lost all physical energy as well as mental energy, and so I really had to take the summer off. And it's shocking. I'm terribly, well, I was going to say I'm terribly vain. I'm too old to be terribly vain, but I was rather appalled that I looked so awful in my holiday snaps. I just looked really, really droopy in the face. And I took the summer off, and then I kind of fought my way back to health, and I did exercises and facial massages, ladies and gentlemen. But this is my card for the year, the card of rest and recuperation in the wonderful Oculi Occultati tarot, which means eyes closed. So everyone in this tarot has their eyes closed, and in a way they all look like they're resting. And so not just this card, but the whole tarot, for me, is appropriate to the year we've had. Tarot practice reflection. Well, this was the year in which I published a video called Fortune Cookie Tarot. And in that video, I came out as someone who believes in very short tarot readings, because the readings I do for myself are very short. They might be as short as 20 seconds. And I've got to the stage where I can read cards very quickly, especially when they're for myself. And I compare these very short readings to readings that I do for clients, which might be, an hour long. If the client has made the trouble to come and see me in person, they could be here for an hour. And it's very, very different. It's more like a therapy session. It's more like a conversation. And for some clients, that's absolutely great. And they love it, and it's what they need. Could be 20 minutes. But I'm very interested in the quality that you can get out of very short readings. For me, it seems oracular. I'm very interested in the idea of how a tarot reading could be boiled down to about 15 words, as you might get on a fortune cookie. So this is my new theory of the fortune cookie style of tarot reading. And I know that it's probably more difficult to have a professional practice if you boil everything down so much. Nevertheless, as I said, it's not all about money. And for me, this is the way I'm going in my tarot thinking. Okay, and finally we have pull a card for the new year. Now I'm going to be a bit of a devil and use this German pop star deck. As you can see, it's a playing card deck, but each card has a pop star. There you go. So let's see which pop star is speaking to us and what that has to say about next year. Please give us a pop star message for next year. Pop star message for next year. It's Robert Plant. And Robert Plant was in Led Zeppelin, and Led Zeppelin's great anthem is called Stairway to Heaven. And she's buying a stairway to heaven. So there is always a connection between the earth and heaven, isn't there? Ladies and gentlemen, perhaps in 2026, we should have a look around and see where the connection is, and then proceed accordingly. I'm Robert Farrer, this is Tea and Tara, and I'll see you next week with more of this stuff. Have a great 2026.